Hey, some more packages arrived today. What's in them?
Oh, those? Fishing gear. A colleague at work invited me to go fishing, so I bought some new stuff.
Fishing gear? I feel uneasy seeing my husband Hugo's excitement. Didn't you buy fishing gear when we first got married and never used it?
I was too busy to go, but that old gear is outdated, and if I'm going, I need new stuff.
I see.
What's up? You got a problem with that?
It's not that, but
my colleague was kind enough to invite me. I can't just say no. I have work, you know. I can't just dwell on sentiment like you do.
I understand what Hugo is saying, but it's hard to believe we're a couple sharing the same sorrow when Hugo seems so happy, like nothing has happened. I'm Cynthia, 33 years old. We've been married for 6 years. Hugo was making these fishing plans just 2 months after our daughter passed away. I still can't get over my grief, but I can't understand how Hugo seems so unaffected. Father-in-law Wilson passed away in our 2nd year of marriage. He adored his granddaughter, loved her more than anything. I wonder if they're together in heaven now. That's the only thought that comforts me. Before he died, "Don't let Hugo and mother-in-law Rachel handle the money," Wilson told me. I realized after getting married that Hugo and Rachel are big spenders. They spend without thinking if they have money. That's why Wilson always managed the finances. Wilson was a gentle soul, always looking out for me. Having no family of my own, he was like a real father to me, and his death hit me hard. Our daughter Laura was born a year after our marriage. She was such a bright and cheerful girl, always bringing light into our lives. "Mom, everyone's so jealous of my packed lunch. I bet it's the best in preschool." "Then Mom will have to try even harder." "Mom, can I ask for a little favor?" "What is it?" "Can you make more food for my next packed lunch? I want to eat more." "Can you eat that much?" "I won't leave any, I promise." "Okay, I'll do it." The following month, Laura's preschool teacher quietly told me something. There was a child in class who never had a mom and whose dad was too busy with work to make a packed lunch, always bringing just a supermarket sandwich and an apple. Laura had been sharing her packed lunch with this child. "Laura's packed lunch is more than I can eat, so please help me eat it." Splitting it in half. Hearing this, I was so proud of Laura. Such a kind and wonderful child. Every expression of Laura's, her angry face, her crying face, and her brightest smiles were all treasures to me. And then one day, that treasure was suddenly gone. The night before, Laura went to bed as usual, just a bit earlier than normal. "I'm sleepy," she said, but I just thought she was tired from preschool. After watching Laura start to breathe softly in her sleep, I left the bed. Usually, Laura and I sleep together. After Laura fell asleep, I cleaned up dinner, took a shower after Rachel did, finished cleaning the shower room, and by the time I returned to the bedroom, it was almost midnight. Hugo was away on a business trip that night. Laura was lying quietly in bed. I thought she was sleeping well, but as I was about to get into bed, I noticed something was wrong. I couldn't hear Laura's breathing. "What?" I reached out to touch Laura's cheek. It was noticeably colder than usual. "Laura? Laura! What's wrong? Laura!" Laura was completely unresponsive. I couldn't understand what was happening, but I knew I had to call an ambulance. I jumped into the ambulance with Laura, but as soon as the paramedics saw her, they had a look on their face. They rushed her to the hospital. "Laura, you'll be okay, right? You'll get better once we're at the hospital, right?" I held Laura's cold hand, repeating the same words to myself. But the first thing the doctor said when we arrived was, "I'm terribly sorry, but she's already..." I became frantic. I begged the doctor to examine Laura, over and over. It couldn't be true. It just couldn't happen like this. She was fine before bed. The cause was unknown.
These sudden events can happen even with small children these days,
the doctor said. I had heard such things but never imagined it could happen to my own child. Laura and I had only lived together for 4 short years. I thought we had decades ahead of us. I couldn't believe she was suddenly gone. I panicked and passed out. When I woke up, Hugo and Rachel, who had been notified, were there. I realized I had forgotten to call Rachel when I left the house. "Where's Laura?" I hoped it was a dream, but Hugo gestured that she was gone. "How can this? Why?" Neither Hugo nor Rachel said anything, but their eyes,
"Cynthia was right,"
seemed to say. I thought the same. For a while I was almost catatonic. I cried looking at Laura's things, cried watching her favorite cartoons, and cried remembering her in everything I did. At first Hugo didn't say anything, but gradually he began to sigh audibly.
"She's so morbid,"
and mutter under his breath. Rachel too started to nag me. "Hey, how long are you going to be in a daze? Housework is Cynthia's job, isn't it? Could you please get it together?" "I'm sorry." I knew I shouldn't be like this, but my heart was heavy, and I just couldn't function as efficiently as before. Yet, as they say, time heals. About 6 months later, I started to manage the daily chores normally again. Hugo did cry a bit at the funeral, but he wasn't exactly what she would call a doting father. He preferred playing games over spending time with Laura, which is why she wasn't very attached to him. So, maybe Hugo wasn't as heartbroken because he didn't feel as much a sense of being a parent. But who else will mourn for Laura, our daughter who only lived for 4 years, if not her parents? Yet, about a month after Laura's death, Hugo returned to his usual spendthrift self, enjoying shopping and browsing the web. When Laura died, both Hugo and Rachel looked at me as if it was my fault.
"It's Cynthia's fault."
But they didn't say anything, probably because they weren't as heartbroken about her absence as I was. I didn't expect them to grieve the same way, but I wished Hugo, as a parent who lost a child, would have been more supportive. Rachel, on the other hand, went back to her routine within a week, shopping and going out with friends, laughing as if Laura had never existed. When Laura was born, Rachel frowned upon seeing her face. "She looks more like Cynthia than Hugo. We can't expect much from her future." She often ignored Laura and seemed reluctant to interact with her, probably not feeling any special affection. She didn't shed a tear at the funeral. Their attitudes have always been a point of contention for me. Almost a year passed since Laura's death. Seeing Hugo and Rachel happily shopping, I felt an indescribable frustration. They never talked to Laura's picture. I wonder how they can act so normally. I felt that we just couldn't understand each other. Then one day, Hugo and Rachel unusually suggested we go out together. "Where are we going?"
"How about somewhere with fresh air to change our mood? Cynthia, you've been just going between home and the supermarket since Laura passed. That's why you're so down."
"I've been worried about you too, Cynthia. You've been so down." "Worried? You, Rachel?" "Of course. Cynthia is the wife of our dear son. I've been trying hard for your sake." I couldn't really believe that, but a part of me felt a little happy to hear it.
"How about hiking for a change?"
"Hiking?"
"Going somewhere with fresh air might lift your spirits. I want Cynthia to feel a bit better."
"You really thought that?"
"Of course. I'm your husband. It's natural to worry about my wife."
"But you didn't seem that down."
"I was holding it together. If I got down too, the house would become too gloomy. So let's go hiking."
I wondered if they really cared, but it was hard to believe.
"Laura would want you to be happy, Cynthia. Think of this as a tribute to her."
That moved me. I knew Laura wouldn't want me to cry forever. That's something I've always known in my head. But I've never hiked before. "Don't worry, even I can climb it."
"It's more like a light hike."
Well, if Hugo and Rachel insist. Great, I'm looking forward to it. And so I agreed to go hiking with Hugo and Rachel. We drove to the foot of the mountain and started our ascent. It was a sunny day and many people were around, which felt reassuring. But as we reached the midway point, the crowd thinned. Despite being told it was a beginner's course, I was surprised by the roughness. Yet Hugo and Rachel walked with ease, familiar with the terrain. Hey, let's take this path. Huh?
Yeah, it looks less crowded. Let's go that way.
But shouldn't we follow the path everyone else is taking?
It's fine, I've been here before and know the way. This path is straightforward and you can't get lost.
If Hugo says it's okay, then it must be.
Trust me, that's a really scenic spot just ahead. Cynthia, you'll be amazed.
Before finishing his sentence, Hugo started walking down the path, followed by Rachel, so I reluctantly followed them. But the further we went, the path became more rugged, almost like a trail for animals rather than a proper path. Wait, are you sure we're on the right path? Can we really get through here?
Don't worry, we'll reach a wider path soon. Just keep up.
Hugo and Rachel continued, seemingly confident. Rachel, now 60, was surprisingly nimble, walking more effortlessly than I was. Soon, they were far ahead, their figures intermittently visible through the dense foliage. Wait! Don't leave me behind here!
Hurry up, we'll run out of daylight.
Hugo's voice echoed from the distance. I hurried but couldn't catch up. Their heads, once visible, were now out of sight. Hugo? Rachel! I called out in fear, but no reply came. As I hurried forward, I lost sight of them completely. I didn't know which way to go. What should I do? I was lost, with the word stranded echoing in my mind. This can't be happening. Maybe I should have stayed put, thinking Hugo would come back for me. But as time passed, neither Hugo nor Rachel appeared. There was no sign of anyone approaching. Knowing I couldn't just stand there, I started walking again, filled with fear. My anxiety grew. I couldn't tell which way was which. I decided to retrace my steps, but even finding my own tracks on this unmarked path was a challenge. I felt like I was getting deeper into the wilderness. Panicking, I stumbled several times, each fall draining more energy. Soon the surroundings began to darken. My anxiety intensified. If it turned night, I wouldn't be able to descend. The temperature dropped as evening approached. It was late March, but the nights were still cold, especially in the mountains. What would happen if I had to spend the night here? Exhausted, I collapsed against a large tree. I can't go on. I voiced my despair. Thoughts of this being the end of my life crept in, my consciousness fading. In my dimming awareness, I heard a voice I had longed to hear. Mom? Mom! Shocked, I opened my eyes. There was my dear Laura. Laura? Is that you? Laura smiled at me. I must be in heaven, I thought hazily. I reached out to hug Laura, but she seemed to slip through my arms, flying away. Laura? Mom, over here! Laura turned and started running. Wait! I reflexively stand up to follow Laura. I reflexively stood up, feeling strangely energized, despite my earlier exhaustion. This couldn't be the real world. But if it meant holding Laura again, I didn't care if it was a dream. When I thought of that, I naturally felt motivated. I felt invigorated and chased after Laura. Laura, wait! As I called her name, Laura turned back, smiling. It felt like playing tag with Laura, a joyful feeling. Before I knew it, I had reached the foot of the mountain, and Laura was gone. Laura, where are you? Laura was nowhere to be seen. Had I just seen an illusion? Then someone shone a flashlight on me.
Are you okay?
I got lost on the trail.
Are you hurt?
Thank you, I'm fine. My family must be waiting for me. I headed down the parking lot at the foot of the mountain, but our car wasn't there. Had Hugo and Rachel left without me? No way! As I stood there dumbfounded, I saw a faint image of Laura where our car should have been. Laura! I ran towards her, but my body passed right through. I couldn't embrace her. Laura looked sad, as if she wanted to tell me something. I felt she had a message for me. Then I realized something was very wrong. If we had been separated, they would have reported me missing. The area should have been in an uproar, but no one seemed to be looking for me. The parking lot was silent and deserted. Did Hugo and Rachel not even try to find me? What does this mean? Laura must have appeared to show me this. I went to the station, took a train home, and noticed people staring at me curiously, but I was too preoccupied to care. I quietly opened the door and peeked inside. I could hear Hugo and Rachel's voices, unnaturally cheerful. I sneaked into the next room and observed them through a gap in the sliding door. They were drinking and laughing, unconcerned that I hadn't returned.
We did it! No more of her depressing face.
Wonder how she's doing now. Shivering in the mountains?
Just thinking about it makes me laugh. Cynthia is so slow. She'll never make it back. It's going to be extra cold tonight.
Imagine her alone and cold out there.
We'll tell the people she ran off with another man, then file a missing person report.
When will we get the insurance money?
It'll take a few years before she's declared legally missing.
If only her body was found, we'd get it faster.
Let's say she called from the mountain. Then they'll find her sooner.
My son is so clever. Hearing this, I trembled with anger. I couldn't believe they had planned this. I listened to their conversation, unnoticed. I was a fool to ever think of them as family.
Make sure to cry at the funeral. You didn't shed a tear for Laura.
Well, I wasn't sad. Laura wasn't cute. She looked just like Cynthia.
I never wanted kids. They're just annoying.
Hearing this, I burst open the sliding door. The two of them looked at me in surprise when the sliding door suddenly opened. They were shocked to see me.
It's out!
Wow! Hugo backed up against the wall. Rachel covered her head with the throw. I realized that the noise was as if I had seen a ghost. I must have looked like a ghost, covered in mud, torn clothes, and scratches. It may look exactly like a ghost.
I'll haunt you.
They shivered in fear. It wasn't me! Blame Hugo!
What? You agreed. Mom was the one laughing about how cold it must be. It's not my fault. Haunt her.
Hugo, selling out your own mother? What if I get haunted? Hugo, Rachel. I'm sorry, please go to heaven. They were beyond reason. I wonder if it's so easy to pass away to the afterlife. Things don't go the way these people think. Go to the other side? I'm not about to make it that easy for you. I'm still very much alive.
What?
Huh? See, I still have legs. I lifted my foot to show them, and they looked utterly bewildered, clearly not expecting me to be there. They must have seriously thought that they sent me to the afterlife. What was your plan? Leaving me in the middle of the mountains?
I just wanted to fulfill your wish.
My wish?
You wanted to see Laura, right? I thought I'd sent you to her. It was out of kindness.
What? I was speechless. Did they really think that excuse would hold up? I informed them that I had heard their entire conversation. Their faces turned even paler. Of course I'll be divorcing Hugo. I can't stay here. Not with my life on the line. Too bad you won't get the insurance money.
That's...
I recorded your conversation. I'm taking it to the police.
What?
I'll consult a lawyer and you'll face the consequences.
What consequences? Cynthia's fine, right? We didn't commit any crime.
I won't let this go unpunished. Perhaps it was seeing Laura that gave me strength, or knowing their evil intentions. but I felt a newfound power within me. I wasn't going to lose. Rachel, still unable to believe I was alive, peeked out from under her throw at Hugo and me, still trembling. On the contrary, I want to ask myself, do I look that much like a ghost? I didn't bother with their stunned faces and began gathering my belongings to leave the house. I had no destination in mind, but managed to find a no-frills hotel. I was grateful for the savings I had hidden before marriage. Hugo and Rachel didn't know I had savings. They would have demanded it if they did. The next day, I visited the police and a lawyer's office. Abandoning a healthy adult in the mountains might not constitute abandonment, but intentionally leaving someone in a dangerous place was illegal. Some punishment was inevitable. My lawyer said I could claim damages for emotional distress. My recording of their conversation led to their arrest for fraud and assault, resulting in a criminal sentence. The divorce was finalized, and I claimed compensation and damages. I had secretly saved money, just as Wilson advised, slowly transferring small amounts from our living expenses account to another one. Even though the savings were from after marriage, all payments were made to me, leaving Hugo with nothing. I found a place to live and a job. I'll never overcome the grief of losing Laura, but I cherish the happy memories we shared. As long as I have these memories, I won't be lonely. Laura saved my life. She wanted me to live. I'm the only one who can cherish her memories. I'm not alone. Laura's smiling face is always with me.
Mom, I love your smile.
Laura often said that, so I'll keep smiling. The smile Laura loved, and move forward.